Really, the DAW, which is the what's that stand for? The dog auto walker, the digital audio warbler, dodgy audio wrinkler. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel. Today, I am going to show you the inner workings of my studio, affectionately called the doghouse. Now, I built this wonderful place about 2.5 years ago, I think, roughly. I live in the smallest house in the world, so I don't have any space inside to do anything like this, so I literally put my studio in a shed at the bottom of my garden. Now, a lot of you people are probably thinking, what? You put it in a shed? What? Yes, it's in a shed. Not a brick built shed, but a wooden shed, a standard 10 by 8, I think it's a 10 by 8. No, it's 10 by 6. 10 by 6 shed. And my workshop, which is next door, is a 6 by 4 shed. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what? It doesn't look like a shed. That doesn't look like a shed. It's a shed. Let me show you. Well, here it is from the outside. You can see it is just a normal shed. And there is the workshop next door. I built this little decking area out of builder's pallets. The whole thing sits on builder's pallets as well. So I have an extended workspace outside, and I can sit out here in the summer and sip beer and play guitar in the sunshine. Now, it is amazing what you can fit into a tight space. I mean, my work vehicle now, my gigging vehicle is a street KA, a 2-seater street KA convertible, and I get all my gear into that. So that just shows you, you don't need a whole lot of space. I've actually had 4 people in here doing a band rehearsal. It does comfortably accommodate 2 people, me at the controls, another musician doing the vocals or the guitar parts or whatever. I'll give you a spin round in a minute and show you the room. Here it was when I first built it. Now it's been lived in and worked in quite a lot over the years. It's still not that messy, but it's a used space, you know. So firstly, let me just tell you how I made this insulated and dry. It's very, very simple. It is just a basic shed that you buy from your hardware store. I think it was around 300 and something pounds or something like that, and it gets delivered flat pack and you build it. Bosh bang. Like I said before, the whole thing is on builder's pallets, and if you don't know what builder's pallets are, then that's what building sites have things delivered on, like big stacks of bricks or tiles or whatever. They're very, very strong, very, very sturdy and resistant to rotting. So the whole base of this studio and the workshop are on builder's pallets. The whole ground was leveled out, builder's pallets placed down, packed full of loft insulation. And then the shed built on top of that. The floor has a thick layer of insulated foam underneath laminate flooring. Walls and ceiling were packed full of loft insulation and bubble wrap, and then 9mm foil back plasterboard placed on top of that. It was all dry lined and then painted, as you can see. Nom, nom, nom. Where the doorway is, I put this curtain rail all the way across, and then a curtain going across there, and that's the door, which I could insulate as well if I wanted to, but it's not really necessary. And then on the back wall there, I've got a nice decorative wall hanging, and there's my workstation down there, where all the magic happens. We're just going around the room. There's some nice artwork that my daughter did for me. I'll link her channel in the description. She's very talented. And she helped me put some vinyl LP covers on the walls for decoration. It's all the stuff I'm into. And there's some family stuff, some birthday cards, etc. Steve Ray Vaughan's guitar over here. Oh look, there's Queen. Say hi, Queen. Hi. AC/DC. There's my good friend Graham, who passed away. Bless his little soul. Some of that for you. Stylish lamp in the corner. Some mic stands. Found that at a car boot sale. Thought I'd stick it on the ceiling. There's Jimi Hendrix, who looks down at me, my workstation, with his judgy eyes. And some stuff. Some guitars that I use for recording, etc. Sometimes for gigging too. There's an amp. So you can see, you can get quite a lot in a small space. And there's some guitars that I take gigging, etc. My bass. The HB35, which I still haven't finished. There's Freddie, keeping his mouth shut. He looks after the place. And there used to be a sofa here, but we got rid of that. That went back into the house, and I put a couple of chairs there so people could sit, or I can sit. It's very secure. Security light, bolted. Security camera, bolted. When I built this studio and I was sharing its progress and stuff across the social web, people were saying, "Brand, oh my God, you can't do that. Your guitars are gonna get ruined. Everything's gonna be damp. It's gonna be awful. Oh my no, my God." It's not. It's absolutely fine. It does get cold in here, but it's not damp in any way. I have not had to clean any mold off of anything. My guitars are absolutely fine. They don't rust. They don't go funny shaped or anything like that. They sit here, it's absolutely fine. I have a blow heater which I put on when I'm in here. I have a radiator on the wall which I can put on as well, depending on how cold it is. There's no heat on at the moment. It's January and it's absolutely fine in here. Power is supplied from the house. It is literally an extension cable which I run down the side of the garden. I put the power cable into a hose pipe, and which runs down the side of the fence just on the ground, and then comes into the studio that way. So when I'm finished in here and I'll knock everything off, I'll go back to the house, I'll just pull the plug out and all the power is knocked out. So here you go, this is my workstation, looking a little tidier than it normally does. All very functional. I'll take you through step by step what I'm using, but this is basically it, and this sits at one end of the shed. So first off, I'm using a laptop. I know a lot of people like to use desktops, but I find this works just as well. It's a very, very high spec laptop with an i7. It's got a solid state hard drive in there as well. I also use external hard drives. It's got 8 gig of RAM, although I do have extra RAM. I can boost it to 16 if I want to, but I haven't found I needed to. That's just fine. The other good thing about it being a laptop is that if I don't want to sit here, especially to do video editing, I can just go back down to the house and get comfy on the sofa and sit there with headphones and edit my videos for YouTube and all that. My interface is the Scarlett Focusrite 18i8, is it? The second generation. Has the 4 XLR inputs at the front, the dual inputs, and it's got 4 on the back as well. I chose this one because when I record drums, because I can't do drums in here, I take this interface and my laptop, another good reason for having a laptop, and my mics, and my drummer has his own mics as well, and we record the drums at a rehearsal studio where we rehearse. So I do the guide tracks in here, and then take it down, and he sits and drums to it, and I'll record the drums like that. For my guitar sounds, I'm using the good old Line 6 Pod 2.0. I do sometimes mic up my guitar amps and record them that way, but on the last record I did, I just used this and I found it much better for editing. Nobody could tell the difference anyway. You can't tell the difference once you've mixed it all up and everything, and you've got just such a good selection of good sounding guitar amps and effects and stuff on there. I have some nice wireless Sony headphones which I use for monitoring at times, and obviously for when I'm recording vocals and things, which are really handy. It's nice not having the lead, getting tangled around everything. On here I've got like a desktop mic stand, which I mainly use for when I'm doing my streams, but I've also got my mic on a stand here as well, which I can move around the room. The microphone I'm using is an SE microphone, condenser mic. Very nice mic, very affordable, can highly recommend it. I will put a link in the description for that. And I've also got its brother, which is a ribbon microphone as well, which I very rarely use. My monitors are not very sophisticated at all. These are just my old Jammo D110s, which I've had since I was a teenager. I use these as the monitors, easy for you to say. And that's powered, if I can get down here, by, I don't know if you can see it, oh, just about, a H&H power amp under there, old H&H power amp, which I used to use to power some stage monitors back in the day. So now that just powers those monitors, so they are unaffected by any EQ at all. They're just flat EQ. A lot of people won't like those, but I find them very good. I think it's a case of once you're used to something and you know how they work and how they sound, then you know I can get good results using these. I just use them for balancing levels more than anything. So with a combination of my headphones and my monitors, I can get pretty good balanced mixes. And then the desktop, I've got these old Logitech's desktop speakers, which are really nice, and they've got their own little subwoofer on the ground there, which gives me the finished sound, if you like. So as you can see, nothing too sophisticated. I don't have really expensive speakers set up. I don't have a really expensive effects rack or anything like that. These Line 6 pods are brilliant, and you can get them second hand for like 30 quid. The Focusrite interface, I did buy new, but it wasn't a bank breaker. I can't remember how much it is. I'll put a link in the description. I've had it for a few years now, and it has been very, very good. I think it was under £300, if I remember rightly. The Jammo speakers I've had forever, the power amp I've had forever, and the laptop is actually, even though it's quite a high-spec laptop, I've had this laptop for about 4 years, and it's been aces. The software I'm using is Adobe CS6, and I've had this software forever. Before this, it was Cool Edit Pro and Cool Edit Pro 2, and then it went into this. You don't have to have anything like this. I mean, at the time, this was quite expensive, but not overly expensive. Obviously, there's things like Logic now and other stuff, Cubase and all that stuff. Really, the DAW, which is the what's that stand for? The Dog Auto Walker, the Digital Audio Warbler, Dodgy Audio Wrinkler. Hang on, I need to Google this. Digital Audio Workstation. I never thought it stood for that. So the digital audio workstation isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is having a nice mic, a decent mic, and a good interface. There are lots of free versions available, DAWs. There's things like GarageBand and other stuff that you can use and you can download. And you can get some stuff going quite easily without spending a lot of money. Obviously, the better the DAW, then the more features you're going to have, the more effects you're going to have, the better quality effects you're going to have, etc., etc. You can download VSTs, which stands for... What's that? What's a VST? What's a Visual Studio? Visual Studio. Basically, it's a plugin, and you can download which people make, and you can buy them, or you can download free ones, like I just said. And it's just a plugin, so it could be anything from a guitar effect, or a guitar amp, or a guitar cab, or drums, or keys, or whatever, and you can use those effects in addition to the effects that you've already got. Adobe CS6 has some pretty good effects on there. It has everything I need. It has some good reverbs, it has good compressions, it has parametric EQ and all that stuff. It has a mastering suite as well, which I really dig. Like I said, I've been using it for years and years and years. I know how to use it and I know how to get the best out of it. So I'm not worried about moving to Logic or anything like that. I don't have a queue of clients coming in here. I have done recordings for people before. I don't tend to do it because I'm selfish and I just want to record my own stuff. So So what's really great about having my own little studio like this is, listen. Nothing. I'm in here on my own a lot of the day. Peace and quiet, where I can get creative. I sit in here and I practice, I write, I learn covers for the various acts I'm in and my solo stuff. I tweak guitars in here and in my workshop next door, and I record and I mix, and sometimes I just sit in here and I chill and I'll watch some YouTube and get inspiration or whatever. It's fantastic. The other huge bonus is I don't have hardly any gear. Actually, I don't have any gear in the house. So the wife is very, very happy because she's not having to look at guitars and I'm not making noise in the house and things like that. I can come down here and do everything. It's all shut away, nice and secure and nice and neat like. So if you are thinking of building your own little studio, etc., hopefully this has given you a little bit of thought on how you could do it without spending tons and tons of money. Like I said, I mean, all this stuff that I've got here you can buy secondhand. Some of this stuff is secondhand. These Focusrite interfaces you can get secondhand pretty cheap these days. You don't have to have as a high spec laptop as I've got, to be honest with you. You could use something a bit cheaper than that. Speakers are cheap. Line 6 pods are cheap. You know, it doesn't have to break the bank. So I hope you have enjoyed your little tour of my studio. If you do like this kind of video, then please do like, comment and subscribe. There's lots of other content on my channel as well, including tutorials and guitar hacks and guitar builds and setups and all sorts of things and reviews, and it's all there. It's all here in this little part of my world. So there's only one thing left to say, and that is peace. Till next time. And don't forget, Hutch Club, 7 o'clock, every Thursday. Come say hi. We hang out, we talk guitars, play some guitar, drink some coffee, maybe some wine, maybe some beer. You can drink what you like, but that's what I do, and it's all good fun. So come to that.
1, 2, 3, 4. If you like my YouTube show, hit like and comment and get involved. If you dig my vibe, then hit subscribe and never miss an episode of my YouTube show. Peace. Till next time.